mind stayed on Spirit. Woke up this morning with my mind stayed on Spirit. Woke up this morning with my mind stayed on Spirit. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Do it again. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. One more time. Hallelujah, hallelujah,
Well, good morning and welcome to CSL Parker. A warm welcome to our member community and our global family, far and wide. My name is Dr. Nadine Rogers and I am the interim senior minister here at Parker. And I just want to say that it's such a joy and an honor to walk side by side with you on this path of conscious evolution. September, this month, we are following the Centers for Spiritual Living theme, Facing the Fear. And so I would like to begin by lighting our unity candle. Knowing that this light symbolizes the transformative power of spirit which lives in each one of us equally and unites us in the remembering of this truth. Here at Parker, we teach practical spirituality for everyday life based on the Science of Mind and Spirit written by Dr. Ernest Holmes. Dr. Holmes summarizes his works by saying this: it is a correlation of the laws of science, opinions of philosophy, and revelations of world religions applied to human needs and the aspirations of man. Now, being all-inclusive, we honor all mindful paths to the One, and we are learning together to celebrate and honor diversity, as well as rejoice and become stronger in what unites us. Isn't it just grand that we are all teachers and students as we come to understand that we do live in a spiritual universe, and therefore we are spiritual beings having a human experience? That everything we think we may lack or need is only and ever found within us, and that ultimately we are here to walk each other home. We know you are blessed right where you are. So sit back and relax and enjoy this upcoming time of music and meditation.
I am goodness, grace beyond measure. I am peace, here and now. I am wholeness, thriving perfection. I am love. I am love.
It is time to be still and breathe in the breath of God. Sit up straight, uncross your arms, legs, and ankles. Remove anything on your lap. Let your neck relax and be soft. Begin in diaphragmatic breathing, which is inhalation and exhalation through your nose. It is relaxing and restorative. Breath is spirit. The act of breathing is living. You can always return to the awareness of your healing, calming breath for comfort. The Divine Spirit is closer to you than your very breath. In the words of Ernest Holmes, to overcome fear is the greatest adventure of the mind of man. The divine mind, which is present everywhere and fills every space, is free from all fear. There is nothing for God to be afraid of, and we are inseparably one with the divine mind. Faith is the confidence and assurance of knowing something because it can be no other way. The knowing that God is in charge of our lives and giving us exactly what we need is the key to establishing a foundation of faith. Then we find ourselves fearless. We have absolute faith in God, in His protection, and in His guidance and His unconditional love. And this faith helps us be happy and express more and more effortlessly the innate joy of our souls. Faith alone can heal confusion and bring from our minds all thought of fear and dissipate all anxiety. In prayer and meditation, we commune with the invisible spirit. We draw its strength, its peace, and its serenity into our souls. We become strong and self-reliant because we have built up a confidence in life, a faith and conviction that wards off fear. There is at the center of every being a strong fortress of faith. It is placed there by a power that is greater than we are, by an intelligence that knows everything. It is forever held in place by a divine presence, which is God in everyone. It is this indwelling source that we trust. I now lay down all my fears, doubts, and anxieties. I reach higher for faith than for fear. Every time I walk through fear, my light shines a little brighter. Faith is to believe what you do not see. The reward of this faith is to see what you believe. And so it is.
This world as it is, go inside to find my God. I will leave this world as it is, go inside to find my God. I will leave this world as it is, go inside to find my God. I will leave this world as it is, go inside to find my God. Inside there is peace. Inside there is joy. Inside there is more than enough. Inside there is peace. Inside there is joy. Inside there is sacred love. I will leave this day as it is. Go inside to find my God. I will leave this day as it is. Go inside to find my God. Inside there is peace. Inside there is joy. Inside there is more than enough. Inside there is peace. Inside there is joy. Inside there is sacred love. I will leave this life as it is. Go inside to find my God. I will leave this life as it is. Go inside to find my God. Go inside to find my God. Go inside to find my God.
Well, good morning, everybody, once again. You know, this month we're opening up an opportunity for each of us to explore facing the fear. And I'd like to add a little bit of an addendum, facing the fear by deepening our faith. You may have noticed that I've chosen a bit of a different background to share the message with you today, and it's very stark. It's white. And I chose this because I didn't want any props. I didn't want anything to distract you away from me, so that I could not hide or create an illusion that takes your eyes away from me. Therefore, all eyes are upon me, and I'm facing my fear in this. You know, I've grown up in this teaching to realize that the best method of supporting others in growing into their full potential, which means facing their fears, is to face fears myself and allow people to watch me in that fear. Now, granted, there are many ways that one can do this. However, at the bottom out time of my life, I transformed it by falling into a vat, I would say, of absurdity, of nonsense, of extremely animated behavior. And by the way, all that I just described to you was how I would have described my life at rock bottom. The only difference is then I did not have the capacity to truly stand beside myself and witness myself. I did not know then what I know now, which is I am not my thoughts. I am the thinker behind my thoughts. Even though I did not intellectually grasp this truth, something within me then guided me into the experience of that truth so that I could begin to align my conscious thinking to embody this truth and deepen my faith in my divine humanity. So I would like to take a moment now and demonstrate my long day's journey into night and back into day and back into night and back into day and back into night. Oh my, and back into day. Oh yes, back into night. Oh, and back into day. I might trip or fall. I might get permanently lost or scared out of my mind. I won't be able to find my way. Worst of all, I may kick the bucket. Oh, I might bake the dust. Oh, I could push the daisies up. Meet my end. Oh, I have an idea. There's got to be a light around here somewhere. I'm going to find one. Just a minute. I'm going to hurry. I got to hurry about finding this light, because it's just too dark out here. And I got to get out of this darkness somehow. Let's see, this little light of mine. I'm going to let it shine. Oh, this little light of mine. I'm gonna let it shine, this little light of mine. I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Holy sunshine, it's bright in here. This light is blinding me. Oh, I can hardly see for the light. I better call EMS, Emergency Minister Services, to help me find a happy medium. Oh, here she is now. Dr. Nadine Rogers. Whoa, well, Louie, I'm not a medium, I'm not a psychic, but I am in the business of helping you get used to the light so that you can see in the darkness. Living a spiritual life is not about living without the experience of fear, but it is precisely in the moment of fear when we are most at attention and present with how we are feeling and thinking. It is here where our strength and our courage can be consciously harnessed to shift perspective on our relationship with whatever we deem as threatening our survival, our safety, our equilibrium. We must be present to secure a sense of inner harmony. And that asks us to turn away from the power that we have given the condition or object of our fear so that we can better see the truth in it. Now, Reverend Marilyn Lewis last week spoke to us about where is God in all of this. And she led us actually into this month's theme with this reminder: nothing is bigger than God. And surely, she said, the presence of God is in this place. Now, this reminder is essential when we are peeling away the layers of the onion, when we're unlearning what we've learned, stripping away the beliefs which formerly served us in navigating our world. Often it ain't pretty, because we are unskilled at becoming comfortable in the divine discomfort as we hunger to live an authentic life and be free. Now, we all want to live freely, but when fear grips us, the idea of living freely is not foremost in our mind, but escaping the grip of fear is, isn't it? Now, freedom is not gained, however, by escaping or retreating from the world of conditions, but by engaging in the world with understanding it as the expression of our own consciousness and energy reflecting back to us. This actually is known as the law of correspondence. Holmes says that there must be a subjective correspondence for every objective fact. The cause of all objective thinking exists in the field of subjectivity, and for everything which transpires in the objective world, there is an exact corresponding cause in the mental or spiritual realm. This world responds by corresponding through a law of reflection inherent within itself. Now, a clown knows this. And historically, the clown role has been to hold up a mirror to humanity, an objective reflection of the subjective beliefs of its audience. As a clown, I discovered that my experience was determined by simply responding to what was going on around me. Responding, however, with humor, unattached to my ego or the outcome. Now, the most amazing thing happened. I came to see light everywhere, even when it seemed the darkest in my life. I observed the connection or the flow between all things, and therefore I didn't identify with one thing or the other thing. And as I adjusted, when I wasn't clowning in my real life, or was that the real life? I'm still not sure. As I adjusted from duality thinking, which is the either or vision, to oneness thinking, which is and both vision, I began to glimpse joy. Now, I'm not talking about happiness. Joy. One of the innate qualities of the highest vibration of source energy. Our topic today is Surrender Thy Name. It is here we begin to look at how we can deepen our faith in the face of our fears as we surrender our own name. In other words, the idea of who we are based on who we have known ourselves to be. Here we can move with less resistance into the present of what is and accept it and experience, as Holmes likes to say, a new dawn of a new day. Here's a real life incident that took place over 1,300 years ago, which speaks to adjusting our vision by staying in the present. Two young monks who were en route to China to study the Dharma were literally pinned down by driving rain, and they were sought in refuge to a mountain cave. Now, in the middle of the night, Wan Yo awoke, and he was desperately thirsty. So he felt around in the dark and found a drinking gourd filled with water. He drank it until he was satiated, and then he fell back asleep. And as he was falling back asleep, he thought, how strange that the thing we try to avoid, water, is also that which we seek. We run from it, then we run for it. Is all life such empty business, he thought? Well, when dawn broke and the sun's rays pierced into the cave, he looked aghast and saw the imagined gourd from which he drank was actually a smashed-in skull. Well, this is the instant usually depicted in the temple tableaus. It is the instant of Wan Ho's enlightenment. So he crawled to the cave's entrance and became violently ill. Then he descended within a sense of calm. He descended into a sense of tremendous calm, it is said, because the same thing that tasted so good in the night now made him ill. Experience itself is neither good nor bad, desirable or undesirable. Only thinking makes it so. So laughingly, Wan Ho abandoned the long trip to China. For what was the need now? He was already, by this insight or defining moment, enlightened. He saw China was no different than Korea, nor the sutras from the shopping list. Only thinking made it so. So finally he decided that there was no point in being a monk. So he married, fathered a son, and then was wandering about the markets, just singing and dancing the days away. But most importantly, he found the consciousness-only school of Korean Buddhism on this very central insight. Only consciousness matters. His name, Wan Ho, appropriately means first dawn. Now, I know some of you are studying with Dr. Verne, who is teaching the power of now. And the author Eckhart Tolle bases his entire awakening philosophy on being present. It is only here that we can consciously welcome in our defining moments and subsequently demonstrate another layer of acceptance of who and whose we are. Now, I had a defining moment lately, and as all defining moments do, it brought me back to the holy experience of oneness. I was anguished at the thought of having to put down my dog Malawi, and was reminded to just ask her when the time was right. Well, then I became anguished by the guilt thoughts of taking her life, or taking it, too soon. I thought, was it about me needing to escape, watching her in pain, rather than just lovingly being with her and actually her being in great distress? What a vicious cycle. The fear of making the wrong decision can set upon us, within which, of course, there are no answers to be found. So my defining moment came as a two-part thought. The first was, I was not alone in this decision. And the second was, I needed to surrender my name, Nadine, and everything. Every thought I'd had about who I was and what was mine to do as this idea of myself. This allowed me to be fully present with my dog. Not in guilt, but in love, and therefore listening to divine guidance. I removed the I in the equation and immediately became peaceful in my faith that all was happening in divine right action. Have you had a defining moment recently in your life? I think a defining moment comes from when we're being mindfully present with what is, both in the acceptance of our interpretation of what is and how we are feeling. This is important. How we are feeling about it. This becomes our open door to experiencing a sense of unity and oneness. And herein lies the blurredness, I would say. This is when the lines between our personality and our essence become very blurry. And we move into the experience of being the thinker behind the thought. Or another way to look at this is you have depersonalized the experience and move through fear into an expanding faith in a power and a presence for good. Now we can face fear if we have faith. But can we have faith in a power and a presence for good, always being everywhere, available equally in all things, when we keep ourselves separate? Separate in our either-or vision, brought about by naming ourselves, others, and circumstances as dark or light, good or bad, victim or victor. A defining moment when we can feel the movement from separation to oneness should never be attributed, however, to the event itself. For events or circumstances are effects of that which has gone before. And what has gone before in consciousness, this is our mental atmosphere, as Dr. Ernest Holmes describes it, as the place where our minds hang out the most. So to actually experience a defining moment, a moment of complete presence through acceptance of what is to have prepared our mental atmosphere in that certain way. The certain way that has caused and become cause, therefore, to attracting the experience or the event. And since everything already exists in the mind of God, so too does one's defining moment before it ever happens. Mind-blowing. This stuff is so good. Let me give you an example to break it down. You know, many would say, if asked, that the defining moment in Jesus' life was his crucifixion. But I feel it was before his arrest in the Garden of Gethsemane. By fully giving his mind, his spirit, his body back to God, sweating blood, thy will no longer separated, surrendering thy name, saw him through his violent death, gave him the faith to face his fear. Now, when Pilate asked if he was the king of the Jews, his response was not one coming from fear. He just calmly stated, "It is as you say." Jesus knew who he was, and he did not have to defend or deny himself. I will add here that Jesus knew who he was both as man and as Christ. Now, in relevant terms to us, that is knowing, to me, that our divinity and our humanity are one thing. So what value is there in having a name? You know, there's an East African story about a woman who is called to sit under a tree, and she just meditates and listens and listens, and all of a sudden this song is born up within her. And she starts to sing this song. And once she's learned this song and feels ready, she goes back into the village and teaches this to her husband, who, as they make love, both sing this song. And then during her pregnancy, they sing this song, and as the child is born, because they've taught the elders and the entire community, everyone is singing the song of this new child, this new life. And every time this new life has a defining moment, they fall down, or they may break an arm, or they fall in love, or they get married and have their own children, their song is sung. They are known by that song. It's not a name, it's a song. So yes, there is power in a name. It says who we are known as to all of those around us, and yet a rose by any other name would smell as sweet. Now that's a popular reference, isn't it, to William Shakespeare's play Romeo and Juliet, in which Juliet seems to argue that it does not matter that Romeo is from her family's rival house of Montague. That is, he is named Montague. Now the reference is often used to imply that the names of things do not affect what they really are. So my conclusion is that there is transformative power in living from our song or our essence rather than from our name. So when we are facing a fear, we best not identify ourselves by naming it, because then we are drawing that thing inside of us and personalizing it and solidifying an identity that is old and has gone before. Instead, surrender its name so to keep our faith alive and fresh as the presence and power of God, as God is love and God is law. When I was learning in the ministry, my teacher, Reverend Marilyn, decided I was ready to teach spiritual practices, much to my surprise. And we were in my apartment, as things go in these outreach classes sometimes, and we're holding hands in a circle and we're doing a treatment for love, and the energy and the vibration of love is building, and I'm thinking, I don't know what the heck I'm doing, right? So I started to feel and get this experience of asthma. And I tried to keep treating, and I could hardly breathe, and all of a sudden I felt Reverend Marilyn's hand on my chest. And she said, Nadine, and she looked into my eyes and she said, this is God too. Wow. You know, looking back, I actually believed in those days that God was not all there was, that there was something else. So much for my belief in the principle of wholeness and oneness. You know, gratefully I began to grow into the principle of oneness. And as the Science of Mind teaches, we are not our thoughts, we are not our body, we are not our names. We are the thinker behind the experience, ever evolving and expanding into our own becoming through awakening to our spiritual magnificence. Wow. So here I started to observe myself, moving from belief to faith. And I began reciting Popeye's mantra. I am what I am, and that's all that I am. Our spiritual leader, Dr. Edward Viljoen, recently told the wheelbarrow story as an illustration between the difference of belief and faith, and I want to share that with you now. It goes like this. A tightrope walker walked across a rope over a very vast canyon and came back, at which point he asked the onlookers, do you believe I can walk across this rope and back without falling? Well, they said, oh yes, of course. Then he walked pushing an empty wheelbarrow. And he pushed it all the way across the rope and all the way back. And then he said, do you believe I can push an empty wheelbarrow across and back this rope across the canyon without falling? And they said, of course. But of course, yes, we do. So then he put a person in the wheelbarrow and he moved it a little bit more slowly, all across the rope and all the way back over the canyon. And he stood there and he said, "Do you believe that I can push a person in this wheelbarrow all the way across the rope and all the way back without falling?" "Yes," they said, "of course. We've seen it with our own eyes. We believe." And then he just stopped for a moment. And he said, "Who among you would like to sit in the wheelbarrow and let me carry you across the canyon?" Not a one put their hand up. The difference between belief and faith. If we fall, it's not because of what we did in consciously creating a new mental atmosphere that would deepen our faith. It is because there's always a risk. And sometimes we fall. And then we keep practicing our faith. You know, this helps us know in life when to get into the barrel and when not, and be at peace with our decision. Recently, I was rereading a book by Malcolm Gladwell, who was a staff writer for The New Yorker. You may know him as the author of the book The Tipping Point, which was about looking at our worldview. His second book is called Blink, and this is the book I'm reading. He says, great decision makers aren't those who process the most information or spend the most time deliberating, but those who have perfected the art of thin slicing, filtering the very few factors that matter from an overwhelming number of variables. He says it's about connecting with the essence of the thing. I'll throw in the God in the thing, rather than the personality, the form, or the fact of a thing. So I'm going to invite you into a quick visualization to experience thin slicing for yourself. Close your eyes if you would for a moment. Visualize yourself walking along a path at night in a very thick fog. But you have with you a powerful flashlight in your hand. Turn it on and notice that it cuts through the fog and narrows your focus to a space in front of you. The fog is your life situation, your story, which includes past and future. The flashlight is your conscious presence, and the clear space is the now. Non-acceptance of the presence hardens the shell of the forms and our ego, and so creates a very strong sense of separateness. This is a dysfunctional state of consciousness, creating tension in the body of all our affairs, moving us away from faith. So as we move through our own contemplations around facing our fears and deepening our faith, I invite you to keep the wisdom of surrender in your mental dialogue, as surrender provides a space for a newly creative idea to emerge, and no positive or sustainable change can arise out of an unsurrendered consciousness. So I have a few tips for you may find useful, should you choose to allow this wisdom of surrender to guide you in deepening your faith. Acknowledge and honor your emotions by expressing them. Practice the energy of yielding to, instead of opposing, the flow of life as it is showing up. Affirm the power for good and its potential in the now. Accept it unconditionally. And narrow your focus without naming the situation. Lay down all judgment and attachment to how it should look. To have faith, we need to remember that only thinking makes it so. Only consciousness creates. And in that, remembering, surrender up your need to control the universe. You know, it's about the lesser giving way to the greater, and our willingness to be the vessel through which this may happen. This is our true defining moment. When we open to this awareness and give way to it, and at that moment, there is no feeling of separation. And we will know ourselves as God moving through the human experience, regardless of how dark it may appear. So I remind myself the next time I'm having a Garden of Gethsemane moment, I have a right to reveal who I really am and come into right relationship with my essence and let that be seen in the world. Surrender thy name, be not afraid. Draw your life experience from listening, not proving, owning, not borrowing, accepting, not judging. When we enter into this timeless dimension of the present, life becomes helpful and cooperative. Look at the lilies, how they grow. They neither toil or spin. There is something within us that remains untouched. It is our pure essence, our spiritual beingness which exists eternally in the present. And as we surrender thy name, we are connected with the source energy of our being. The quality of our consciousness is enhanced immeasurably, and we see clearly what needs to be done. We can focus then on one step at a time. One of my favorite poets, Pablo Neruda, says, "We have to sit on the rim of the well of darkness and fish for fallen light with patience." Dr. Ernest Holmes says, "You are a self-choosing mind in a divinity which permeates everything. You are always in the midst of life, a life that lives eternally and lives through you now. Therefore, you need not be disturbed by the passage of time, the movement around you, nor the variations of experience through which you go. There is something within you that remains unmovable, that always speaks directly to you, saying, 'Be still and know that I am God.'" Now, Louis says, in more contemporary terms,
I am what I am, and that's all that I am, and therefore it is what it is, and that's all that it is, and so it is.
Let us treatment. Oh, this life, full of curiosity, wonder, and awe, it can be very amusing, no matter what is going on. For we are the ones that choose how we see, how we perceive, how we act, how we speak. And if there isn't power in that choice, that freedom of choice, then I do not know where the experience of power actually lies. I know that there is one power, and that power lives and breathes and moves as me. And so in this very moment now, I say yes. I say yes to the wisdom within me to surrender into my own becoming, into my own conscious evolution, with cheerful expectancy, with a sense of welcoming and joy and infinite possibility. Yes, I am the co-creator of my life, and I give great thanks for this. Knowing that there is an infinitely loving God that is inspired by its own selfless giving, its love to move through the law of its being, which always says yes, yes, to that which is in alignment with its own nature. And so I, today, say yes, I have faith. Not just belief, but faith. Faith, you know that faith that is said to move mountains. I take a breath. I give great thanks. And I release the truth of these words, the truth of all life is true for each one of us equally. And know that it unites us in a deepened sense of love for our own humanity and humanity at large. This is the way it is. I release my word, knowing that the law has already made it so. And together we say, and so it is. Amen. I invite you now into a personal investment called Sacred Giving. When we know that there is an infinite flow of prosperity and abundance moving in, through, and as us at all times, no matter what our circumstances may show us, we can begin to expand our consciousness of acceptance and then give from a grateful heart. You know, when our souls are fed by faith-filled giving, not obligatory giving, our gifts bless the giver and the receiver many times over. So for your convenience, we have provided you with a number of ways in which you can contribute. First off, you can click the box at the top of your screen. You can also go on our website or donate via Zelle. Or if you're more comfortable, you can write a check and mail it to our office address. We do receive and appreciate your tithes, and we thank you for supporting us to remain a vital and vibrant and thriving center in which you may continue to receive your spiritual nourishment. So I invite you now to affirm your prosperity through the power of your own word by saying these words with me. I attract all good things into being. The power of my faith enhances my experience of health, relationship, finance, fulfillment, passion, purpose, and joy. The creative source in my life is in a constant state of perfection, freely giving itself as my bounty. And so it is. And now won't you enjoy this offertory song?
I release and I let go. Let the Spirit run my life, and my heart is open wide. Yes, I'm boldly here for God. No more struggle, no more strife. With my faith, I see the light. I am free in the Spirit. Yes, I'm only here for God. I am free in the Spirit. Yes, I'm only here for God.
Let's join together in this benediction. We have been blessed by your presence and the presence of everybody who joined together in mind and heart today to remember how to love this gift, this thing called life. All is well here. And knowing that there is only one source and one power and one presence that's immutable, that's all-loving, that is wise, that is responsive to the imprint which we give it through our thought and our feeling, we rejoice in our freedom of choice. We rejoice in the fact that we can constantly reinvent ourselves. We rejoice in the fact that we can trust this greater idea that is moving in through us and all people equally, and therefore we know we're guided, guarded, and directed. We know that we can rely upon this divine wisdom as we listen, and we allow life to unfold through us. We call this good, and we call it very good. And in this knowing, we know that nobody is left out. Nothing is left out. There are no mistakes. There is only a beautiful, glorious unfolding of a sacred love, emanating its light as each of its creation. For this we give thanks. We give thanks for who we are and for how life is showing up in our life right now. We let this go with deep gratitude. We prove our faith as we move and walk upon this world with open minds, open hands, and open hearts, welcoming in this revelation, affirming this revelation of a world that works for everyone. Life is indeed a blessing, and so are you, and so it is.
To be humble, to be kind, it is a giving of the peace in your mind. To a stranger, to a friend, to give in such a way that has no end. We are love, we are one, we are how we treat each other when the day is done. We are peace, we are war, we are how we treat each other and nothing more. And to be bold, to be brave, it is the thinking that the heart can still be saved, and the darkness can come quick. The danger's in the anger and in the hanging on to it. We are love, we are one, we are how we treat each other when the day is done. We are peace, we are war, we are how we treat each other, nothing more. And tell me what it is that you see, a world that's full of endless possibility. And heroes don't look like they used to, they look like you do. We are love, we are one, we are how we treat each other when the day is done. We are peace,